Yo, yo, ho. We are back. It is match preview time. There's another game. We're playing another game. Why are we playing another game? We're playing another game because it's Champions League. It's Champions League midweek. Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, there's Champions League going on at the moment, but we, Manchester United, we play tomorrow night. And once again, we are talking about must win. It's another must win, and that be the case because we still have more losses than we have wins in the competition. Played 3, lost 2, won 1, and we are, I believe, in third place at the moment. Third place above Copenhagen, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So third place above Copenhagen. We play them yet again tomorrow night, and this time it is away from home, so tougher fixture than it would have been at Old Trafford, but it is an important game, an important fixture, because let's be real, last game at Old Trafford, if we lost that, then essentially the Champions League was over. It could still very much be over if we fail to win tomorrow night. Because that would put then Copenhagen on 4 points, which then puts them ahead of us, and then we'd be sat in last place on 3 points. So we do need to win this one. If we get to 6 points, Bayern play Galatasaray. They'll be playing at home, Bayern Munich, that is. So that's probably a likely victory for Bayern Munich. So that's going to be them essentially qualifying from the group with their win tomorrow night. Well, should they win? Can't really predict much in the Champions League. But Galatasaray would most likely stay on 4 points, and then we can jump ahead of them onto 6 points. And then we can talk about things a little bit, because then we will have to play Galatasaray away from home, and then we have Bayern Munich coming to play at Old Trafford as the last game of group stages. So there would be still quite a possibility that Manchester United can get out of group stages into round of 16 of the Champions League. So it is a very important game tomorrow. Very, very important game tomorrow. And what should we expect as United fans? What should we expect from tomorrow night's game? How should we line up? How should we expect to play? What do we need to do against Copenhagen? Now, if there's anything to take away from the first game, is that Copenhagen will try to express themselves a bit. They try to come with a game plan and try to be, put themselves on the front foot. And fair plays to them. Absolutely fair plays to Copenhagen. They don't sit back with 11 men or 10 men behind the ball. Can't really count a goalkeeper unless you are Andre Onana or Vicario, as last night would have shown us. But they're not exactly those sort of teams that sit back 10 men behind the ball, soak up pressure, and just try and hit lucky counter-attack breaks. They like to play their own game, and fair plays to them. But that presents an opportunity for Manchester United, because whilst we don't play great ourselves, if we've got an opponent that's not got the most astounding qualities, or hasn't really got the highest quality of player, then it's a perfect opportunity realistically for Manchester United to go out and get something done, to get a job done. And you know what? I think even if we are not able to talk about Manchester United playing, scintillating football, playing teams off the park, crazy like triangles, pass and move. You make the dummy runs, he makes the real runs. You pick out the real run, you disguise it. But none of that fancy talk, right? Don't need to complicate the game here. Stick with simplicity, because simplicity might just work best in these scenarios. Because you stick with something that's very simple, very basic, easy to follow, no complications whatsoever, and it's probably the best form of approach against a side when you desperately need a win that could spring a banana skin surprise on you and derail your season once again. And we are sort of in that precarious position where we're faced with full season derailment pretty much every other week, and win a game or two, then lose a game, and then it's hit reset buttons again, and we're back to square one. And maybe not trying to overcomplicate things is probably the best way to go about doing things here, just to get wins, and that's what we need. It's just wins, just win, get the next win, win the next one, win the next, and win the next. Don't worry about game like play styles right now, because let's be real, no one has a bloody clue about play style at the moment at United. No one has an idea. No one has a clue, and us fans, we're trying to figure out what is the play style. Some people say, "Well, I know what the play style is," but then they don't actually tell us what the game plan is. They don't share with us. They don't express what this vision, the picture they see in their minds. They don't share with the group. So yeah, we're all sort of guessing, trying to figure out what exactly the full rundown of the game plan is. Um, so yeah, it's a peculiar one. If in United's camp, a very very peculiar one. But for me, a simple job, a basic job should be the job to get the job done. Right, the job on the jobs on the job on the job on the job. Get the job done and get 3 points. And when 3 points are there to play for, 3 points is what you should be walking out of the game with. Right, we should be flying back from Denmark with 3 points, and 3 points. No less than 3 points. I mean, even a draw in this game, it's a must win. So a draw for us won't settle anything. Won't do us any favors. I want us to be ahead of Galatasaray before we play them. I want us to be ahead of Galatasaray. I want us to be sat in a more favourable position. I think that would favour us. It would definitely favour us. But then it also gives us, if crap hits the fan out in Turkey, which let's be real, probably will, because it's Turkey, and that place is crazy as it is. Galatasaray away is going to be a crazy game. I feel like we still have the slightest inkling of hope against Bayern. Funnily enough, the slightest. And maybe I'm deluded by thinking that there is even the slightest hope in hell that we could get something out of the Bayern Munich game. Maybe I am, but it's possible. I mean, Bayern have not been this unbeatable juggernaut in Europe or in Germany for that matter. They haven't been this unstoppable juggernaut. They've been beaten by other teams that they should not be losing to, and they've not actually had games where they played that well. So there's opportunities to be had, and we should explore those. Like, not just explore, but then exploit furthermore. So yeah, it's important times in the Champions League for Manchester United, and we're faced with mounting pressure, a pressure to just get out of the group stages and qualify for the knockout rounds, because that puts us much closer to where expectation serves us well. And then when it's one of those things where if you serve the expectation well, it's like you look back in hindsight and say, well, did we really get to where we expected to? And if you look back and say, well, we got to where I thought we would get to, you can't say that they've let you down on expectations. So for me, I was not planning on Manchester United to go parading through Manchester with the Champions League. I'm just thinking, look, we're not playing great football at the moment. We're not playing great stuff. We've not got a fantastic squad. We haven't, unfortunately. So it's going to be really, really tough endeavours to go and try and win the Champions League by any capacity. And I think it's just go as far as we can. Just go as far as we can. It's one of those things, like, if we were to fall short and end up dropping down into Europa League, for me, it's like you got to end up going to get into to win the Europa League. If you fail to qualify from Champions League straight away, your task, your mindset should shift to wanting to win the Europa League and just win that competition, because it's like you got demoted to there. So it's like if there's a trophy on that level down that's available to you, go win it. Like that's where my shift in expectation goes. Like even if we play like absolute garbage, I would say, well, look, in the minds of players, if you get knocked out of the Champions League group stage, you don't get into the knockouts. If you end up in Europa League, right, then it's quick turnaround time into the new year. Go and win that competition now, because you shouldn't be there in the first place. And then, worse off, get knocked out finishing last place in the group stage, which we could face a realistic possibility of doing so if we fail to win tomorrow night. Then hang your heads in shame. There would be nowhere to hide. You had Galatasaray, Copenhagen, and Bayern Munich in your Champions League group, and some people would have said that's a difficult group. I said that should be a good group for Manchester United, because you have the very tough, well well astuted Champions League team in Bayern Munich. So there's a major test for you. But then you've got some tough away days in Galatasaray and Copenhagen. But realistically, the quality of Manchester United should be enough to see off that level of opponent. So for me, must win tomorrow night, and I don't see us really having any excuses to not win tomorrow night. Bit like the same way we'd expect to have beaten Sheffield United, the same way we'd expected to have beaten Copenhagen last week, same way that we'd have expected to have won. I believe, what was the last game before that on the weekend? Fulham. Same way we'd have expected to have beaten Fulham. So there's points to be had, and we need to go out and go get those points, right? We need to go out and get those points. It's a must win. As far as what sort of a team we should opt to put out against Copenhagen, as far as injuries are concerned or players missing, Casemiro, obviously, probably the most notable name there. Lisandro Martinez still out with an injury. Malacia, Diallo, and Luke Shaw, and then you have Sancho suspended from the team. So there is good enough players available for selection, to get the result that we need to get tomorrow night, right? There is absolutely so I've just got seeing the update there about Casemiro and Martinez injuries. They're both not expected to be back before Christmas, which is really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. Aside from that, Marcus Rashford is apparently fully 100% fit for tomorrow's game. So let's see if Twitter is still on Marcus Rashford's mind when we travel to Copenhagen, when we travel to Denmark. So I'm just trying to see if I can find where the so there we go. Traveling squad. So we've got Andre Onana, Altay, Bayendier, and Tom Heaton as goalkeepers travelling. Diogo Dalot, Johnny Evans, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Sergio Reguilon, Rafael Varane, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka for defenders. The midfielders travelling, got Sofiane Amrabat, Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes, Hannibal, Scott McTominay, and Mason Mount. And then the forwards, we've got Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony Amari Forson, Rasmus Højlund, Martial, Fernando Pelestri, and Marcus Rashford. So Marcus Rashford back in the match day squad. Kobe Mainu, supposedly, I was hoping to see him be in the squad with the midfielders. He's going to be playing with the under-19 squad for their UEFA Youth Champions League against the same opposition, which is a shame because I would like to see Kobe Mainu get a bit more of a mainstay in the first team. And I think considering that that's kind of what the mutual feeling around the squad setup was before the season begun. For me, I think it's probably is about time to actually start to see Kobe Mainu get more involved in the first team picture. And I know maybe it's just sort of trying to ease him into playing at full speed, but I think, why not? Why not? I mean, it's not that we're not winning the Premier League. Can't win the Carabao Cup. We're out of that. So I mean, there's probably a few games in the near future where Kobe Mainu could probably play, and low risk games, and we should look to dishing out some minutes to these guys because if they're more proclaimed or professionally proclaimed future of this Manchester United first team, then we should opt to giving them the minutes, give them time. Let them get bedded into a first team picture. I know it's not our most ideal squad situation, with the problems that we have at the moment. It's not the most ideal place for younger players to, get first team experience in. But it's why not? Why not? Just give them a shot, see how well they do, and see if they sink or swim. Low risk games at the moment. Not in the Champions League, of course. Champions League is a bit different because we are at risk of not qualifying from the group stages into knockout stages. So I think probably a strong opposition is going to be fielded against Copenhagen. As far as the starting lineup goes, probably, well, at least my starting lineup is probably going to go along the lines of Andre Onana in goal, left back probably Diogo Dalot again. He might go unchanged actually from Fulham. He might go unchanged. So probably Dalot left back. Maybe Varane gets back in the team, to be fair. So it might be Lindelof playing at left centre back, Varane playing right centre back. Wan-Bissaka probably comes back into the team at right back. Maybe Amrabat and McTominay play with Bruno Fernandes in front of them. I would love to see Fernando Pelestri get a start on the right-hand side. I've called for him to play more minutes. I've called for him to start more games. And I don't feel that my stance on that has changed at all. I feel like it's definitely an avenue of player that we should be looking into more, because Fernando Pelestri, Anthony at the moment is under a lot of fire. He's under a lot of scrutiny. He's not doing what we need him to be doing down on the right wing. He's not providing impact by to any extent. Now, providing impact on a football pitch, you might say for a winger, you say, well, if you're not scoring goals, you should be getting assists. And well, if you can't get assists, then surely you're pivotal in the passages of play and build-ups towards goals that lead to goals. But Anthony's not really. If you look at build-ups to goals that happen, Anthony's not really involved in anything. So, not really that effective for me. Not effective enough, and needs to find something else to his game to bring to the football pitch, because so far, to me, Fernando Pelestri, in the few minutes that he's had to play, has upstaged him a bit. So look, Anthony, you've got to get your head down and really start, you know, getting it in, getting the work rate put in, getting the effort put in, finding your impact on this team, find your mark, find your stamp on this team. Because if you're not providing us with anything on the right hand side, then you are, surplus to requirements. You will become surplus to requirements very quickly. And for me, um, that's going to be a big talking point if we have to say, well, Anthony, it's time for you to, be put up on the transfer list. And we are heading that way. And unfortunately, it's going that way quite at quite an alarming rate for me. So listen, he's not got a long, long, long time to prove himself because last season we gave him benefit of the doubt, right? His bedding in season, give him some time, let him find his feet. Let's keep the pressure off of Anthony. Here's the problem: is now he's been here for a season, he knows what this league is all about, and now if anything, he's almost dropped a level. He's almost lost all of impact because last season there were various good things that he did from the right. Obviously, we wanted more than what he was delivering, but he still had something to give. Um, but yeah, for me, Anthony, as much as he had anything to give last season, for me, going into this season, we needed something else. We needed another level, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that at all from Anthony. Um, Big ups, Anthony Herbert. Great to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. What's your score prediction for this game? Well, I'll give score predictions, but the prediction for the game, not expecting anything special, Anthony. Not expecting anything special. I think it's going to be a bit of one of those, slugfests, bit like a, frustrating watch, or, oh, the football's dire. It's not good to watch. It's hard. It's going to be tiring. It's going to be a long, long game. Very, very long feel to it. So as far as score predictions go, I mean, probably going to. I'll go with something like a 2-1 because simply because it's a must win for United. I want to back my team to win the game, but it's Copenhagen at home. They'll fancy their chances, absolutely. Like they'll look to play without pressure because they will see us as a good opportunity to get 3 points out of. They'll see the occasion and they'll look to try and rise to it for me. So it's probably I think 2-1 for United. I mean, as much as I would like to go like 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 and stuff, I believe that it's going to be more towards Man United. If we're winning, it's going to be a close and tense affair. So a 2-1 for me is probably the most sensible scoreline I can see that favours United. I don't know what anybody else in chat thinks. What your predictions for the game? Your predictions for the game is, or whether you guys have a similar outlook, whether you guys have a positive feeling of the game. If you guys feel that we're not quite ready for this, or if you feel like we'll get caught cold, or, whatever it is people think, do be sure to share in the comment section, or if you're watching on playback, in down below, leaving in the comment section your thoughts and feelings about the game, as well as your score predictions, as well as the starting lineups. Just to finish off starting lineups as well. Obviously, I've got the right wing with Fernando Palestri. Garnacho or Marcus Rashford is the question. Who would you start? Would you start Garnacho? Would you start Rashford? As we now know that Rashford is fully fit for tomorrow night. For me, Garnacho's had a run of games. I want to see him continue that. I want to see him continue it. I want to see Garnacho get another start. I think it's probably the most fair thing to do because Rashford dropped out of the team, not fully fit, come back. I mean, you could use Marcus Rashford as an impact substitution for me. Someone who could come off the bench, have a bit of energy, have a bit of pace, a bit direct nature, provide a bit of a goal threat. And for me, yeah, I think that's kind of the picture I see with Rashford. How I would manage this game. For me, I'd just go with Garnacho because I believe Garnacho offers more from a build-up perspective, and I think he resonates that with a bit more of a patient build-up um, in this game. And I think we will need to have a bit of patience in this game against Copenhagen and not try and rush things or jump to conclusions with this game. Uh, I'm going with going 2-1 Man United, not a high-scoring game because there's something wrong at United. Players are not performing as they should. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lack for me, a bit of disharmony with the squads. There's probably a distinct lack of togetherness. Um, Not a lot of feeling like players want to run through brick walls, like commitments to the manager, but commitments to each other as teammates, and banding together and fighting for a sole cause. Like there's this missing that, and I think with other teams, you look at most other teams, there is a togetherness there. Um, but Man United, we severely lack that, and it's going to be important that when the games get tougher, right, um, and the stakes get higher, then it becomes more and more, critical that United have um, a stronger foundation and build something good together. Because if you're playing as individual against tougher opponents in higher stake games, you're going to pick you apart, right? They're going to pick apart teams that play like individuals, and we've been guilty of this before. We've been guilty of this before, where we play as individuals and we just get exploited, completely exploited. Um, Communication among players is a big factor too. It is. It is. It's a very key communication. And um, last season, I think it was quite a prevalent thing that we had with communication because the types of players that we had as the favourable starting 11, that everybody on the pitch could communicate with each other in various ways, and players looked like there was a bit of fight with like fighting for each other. Um, and I think you saw that with the body languages from guys like Martinez, like Casemiro, like Varane, like Bruno Fernandes, like the body language, like you could see it. Not all the time last season, but in various aspects. And I think this season we've looked a bit more downbeat about things. We've looked a bit more tired with things. I don't really fancy it. I'm not feeling up for this challenge. I'm not feeling up for running after that player, like closing him down, or yeah, trying to take up space there, or making the extra run when my teammate's not going to pick me out. I mean, if someone's making runs forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, for the players that sometimes don't pick them out, it's only a matter of time before that player starts to notice. Or better yet, if you're the player making the runs, if you get a break in play, just say to the guy that's got the ball most of the time, look for those runs. I am making those runs. I've been making them all game. Look for that run. Look for the right type of pass into me. Play it into this channel and I will meet it there. I'll meet it there on the blind side of a centre back or full back, wherever it is, right? Communicate, like discuss ideas, like put ideas into fruition. You've got the instructions from the manager, and then you've got the mission on the pitch. You've got the string a performance together. Um, I did read that Man United are not spending any money in January transfer window. If this is true, what are your thoughts on this, Hot Buzz? To be honest, any talk about the January transfer window right now, I would not really read into, because we've had all sorts of talk down the years about January transfer window spending. Uh, it's a little bit like the reports with FSG that we'll spend tons of money in this coming transfer window, and then we never do. We've got X amount of money to spend in January, but we never spend it. I mean, if we're lucky, we'll spend. Even if we had lots and lots and lots of money to spend, if we were lucky, we'd spend money on one player, and that's about it. So far, we've gone about doing business with loan deals, and the last January we loaned 2 players in Marcel Sabitzer and Wout Weghorst. And to be honest, those sorts of loan signings we can't afford to have. We can't do those. Like, we need to be looking at, permanent incomings. And do you know what is going to be interesting? Because we've got the talks about Saudi Arabia looking into players like Bruno, like Raphael Varane. And maybe, I think Bruno's probably a foregone conclusion that he's probably going to turn that offer down. But Raphael Varane, I think, is an interesting one because he might actually weigh up that sort of move. I think he will. I think on the basis that, coming of age, of course, a little bit on the injury-prone side of things. So it's not always fit for United. And I think he's probably got a feeling where it's like, well, do I have the same competitive drive to play at the highest level now as I did, the past decade? Or am I, thinking about potentially unwinding a little bit? Maybe he goes off to join Cristiano Ronaldo at Al Nassr. Maybe. I don't know what the outcomes are going to be, but yeah, I've seen reports as well talking about the United structure, like the boardroom structure. They want to, if we're talking about Sergeant Ratcliffe taking over, or 25%, whatever structure or ownership he's going to have, that the guys that Sergeant wants in, they want them in position by the end of the year, by the end of the calendar year. So if that's true, then that throws January transfer window into a precarious position. It throws it into an unknown territory because we don't know if we've got new people in charge of key decisions with the transfer strategy and approach. By that time, the talk becomes, well, what's the method to the January transfer window? What is the plan here? Because if they sell anybody, they're going to sign somebody. Like, for me, that goes without saying. If we sell anybody in the January transfer window, we are signing somebody in replacement. One key name with defenders positions that's probably going to come to mind is Jean-Claude Todibo from Nice. And that's the thing. From Nice, Sergio Ratcliffe's other club, is probably a very likely transfer that's going to happen, whether it happens in January or it happens in the summer. And you know what? Because it's Sergio Ratcliffe's other club, he's probably going to sweet talk Nice to giving Todibo to United at a cut price. So, pace, a centre back with a little bit of pace, a little bit of tenacity, someone that's probably quite fit, quite reliable in their availability. I think, ticks a fair few boxes. And Ten Hag, another player that, he's been looking at was Todibo. Didn't make the signing for Todibo because Maguire decided he didn't. The club decided that they didn't want to pay off Maguire his severance package to leave the club. So the Todibo thing never happened. But Joe, it's going to be interesting. I think it's one of those we have to see what happens across November and December with the club. Like, what structure is going to be in place? What's going to happen with the structure of the board? Because if anything's to be believed about the board structure, that Joel Glazer knows that Paul Mitchell is going to be the guy that Sergeant Ratcliffe goes after. when he gets in, or he's had that communicated to him, then maybe it's just a matter of time that Paul Mitchell gets in real soon. As for who takes over the CEO position, because supposedly that's going to be up for discussion. We'll probably see that happen very soon after, if not at the same time as Paul Mitchell coming in. And I hope that for the club's sake that we get both of those guys in, and that it hits a reset button to the sporting structure of Man United. And I said this under Ranić, that this squad lacks direction, the team lacks direction, the club is lacking direction, and it needs a reset button smashed into for a new direction at sporting level. That there needs to be a new drive, a new desire to go out and make this club competitive again. And I think we're so far off at the moment that we can't talk about winning trophies and Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues, things like that. We can't talk about that right now because the squad is not in that position right now. The squad doesn't know what it wants. The squad doesn't know what it needs. The club doesn't know what the squad needs. The club doesn't know where it wants to go. The club doesn't have the idea. This board structure change should give us an idea, which is something it's more than we can say that has been the case so far under Edward, Ward, Arnold and Murta. So we get that. We get a plan. We get an idea. It's something that United fans, whether they like Sir Jim Ratcliffe or not, it's an idea that sporting structure coming back into the scene for Manchester United, sorting out the wage bill, getting bad money off of our books. And that's the thing. Get bad money off of our books, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe called out the transfer strategy from prior sporting directors, right? Or some of the directors that are still here, that we spent stupid money. We spent stupid money, and that would be true. That would be true. That this was, a couple of years ago, that we have spent stupid money. And I think we need to look into things and say, right, how about we stop spending stupid money, but we start making some better money? Because one thing Manchester United has really not done over the last 10 years is sell properly. We've not sold players well. We've overpaid for players for acquisitions, but then sales, we have seriously underdelivered on. And I think it's so important that we can sort that out as well. Because if we can sell well, we can lower our wage structures, we can lower our wage budgets or wage bills. Financial fair play stops looking over their shoulder at us, and we get back in the good books, and we can start thinking about building a proper team. And if we sort out FFP, then we can put in £100 million bids for superstar players. We can do that, but we can't at the moment. We can barely sign players on permanent deals because of wage structure, wage bills, but a distinct lack of funds available to stay within the guidelines. And it's the stupid transfer policy for this summer that they had about FFP, or hide behind FFP to spend less money, but then you go out and spend £180 million before selling any first team players. But that's the point, is you spent stupid money again. You spent stupid money. Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have sat there watching you sign those 3 players, and he would have slapped you. He would have slapped you. You would have said, why did you spend that much money on Mason Mount. Why'd you spend that much money on Rasmus Højlund? Why would you spend that much money on any of those guys? Why would you do that? And that's what we need to get out of our system. Once we can flush out, bad habits with spending or overspending, we can start talking about, building placing the building blocks for a better future for Manchester United. And I think for us, that's the bare minimum. But let me know you guys' thoughts and feelings in the comment section below if you are watching on playback. I'm probably going to wrap things up there. So, of course, with the striker position tomorrow night, I'm probably going to go with Rasmus Højlund again. Rasmus Højlund probably going to start up top. So, just a quick rundown on the starting 11 that I probably would like to see tomorrow. Going to see Onana in goal. We've got Diogo Dalot left back, Rafael Varane and Lindelof at centre backs. We've got Wan-Bissaka on right back position. Sofiane Amrabat and Scott McTominay probably starting in midfield, and then Bruno Fernandes ahead of them. You'll have Fernando Pellistri on the right, Alejandro Garnacho on the left, and Rasmus Højlund up. So that's probably the ideal starting 11 for me, for what I would probably go with, what I would probably like to see, factoring in squad selections from what Ten Hag would make. And it's just a job, get 3 points, and get out of Dodge. At this point, don't really care how you do it, just get 3 points. Get 3 points, get us onto 6 for the groups, and we can talk. We can have discussions about, overcoming the next 2 hurdles in the group stage. So big ups to everybody for joining in, for tuning in. Big ups to Anthony Herbert for stopping by and for giving us a quick chat. Big ups to everybody smashing a like on the stream. If you're watching on playback, do be sure to like the stream. Paul O'Connor, new chatter, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Only a new podcast. Sort of new, relatively new. I've sort of been flying under the radar a little bit, but we are sort of still finding our feet a bit. But it's good. It's good stuff. It is good stuff. We enjoy it. We enjoy it over here. Sometimes it gets a little bit louder in chat, but other times just a easygoing stream, just chill out, laid back, relaxed, and all of that good stuff. But I see you are new around these parts, and lovely to see new faces. Always welcome into the community. Wish you all the best, my friend. I'll keep tuned in. Thank you very much, Paul O'Connor. Really, really appreciate it. All support is massively, massively appreciated around these parts. And thank you to everybody who does also contribute in supporting the channel as well. All of that lovely stuff. But yeah, that's basically it for tonight. The big one tomorrow, a big day and important day tomorrow. Got big 3 points to go play for tomorrow night in the Champions League. Do you know what? I'll read out a couple of the scores going on at the moment as well for current tonight's Champions League. So Dortmund beat Newcastle 2-0 tonight. Shakhtar beat Barcelona 1-0. That's surprising. AC Milan and PSG drawing 1-1 at half-time. Atletico Madrid 2-0 up against Celtic. Celtic down to 10 men at half-time. Leipzig beating, I have no idea. I think that's Red Star Belgrade. Yep. They're winning 1-0 away from home. Porto beating Antwerp 1-0. Lazio beating Feyenoord 1-0. And Manchester City beating up the Miners 2-0 at half-time. If you get the joke. What's the prediction for tomorrow? I went with a 2-1, Paul. I went with a 2-1. I can't expect any high-scoring affairs, as that's not really the way our games have gone as of late. But I favour us to win. But I think Copenhagen, considering they're a team that like to play their football, like to play their stuff, they're at home. they'll be up for the fight a bit. I reckon they'll probably get something on the score sheet to take away. But I still put us to beat put us down to beat Copenhagen. I just go with the 2-1 closer scoreline. Hopefully, it can be more than that. I will be pleasantly surprised if we do get more goals scored tomorrow night, but we can only hope. We can only hope, but that's kind of where it is at the moment. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Big ups to everybody for tuning in. As for tomorrow, I will be featuring on Long-Haired Yeti's Cave at I think 4:30, 5 p.m. Tomorrow for a view from the cave, another episode of that, and we're basically just going to be rifling through the weekend's fixtures from the Premier League and discussing the drama, the action, the highs, the lows. We're going to be discussing all things to do with the Premier League and probably a bit of a look ahead as well. So do be sure to jump over there tomorrow, sort of mid to late afternoon, and then obviously the match will be happening tomorrow night, and I'll be live with match reaction straight after that final whistle is blown, and basically, hopefully, it is that of a positive match review. So 3-0 for me. Time's going to be changing. I hope so. I hope so. I hope that it is a good score line, that it is a convincing win. I would like for us to have a convincing win because it can only do it can only do good things to the squad and for players' confidence as well. So and most importantly, one player I really love to see score is Rasmus Højlund, because the guy's going to be under mounting pressure as time wears on, and if he's not scoring as many goals, a lot of people are going to come asking questions. So I do hope for the best for Rasmus Højlund to get on the score sheet, get himself another goal, and maybe just for the sake, if I'm talking about a Copenhagen goal, let's just say that Højlund's brother gets a shithousery goal. Let's just say he gets one of those, like it deflects off someone's face and then bounces in off of Højlund's arse and it goes in. So something ridiculous like that. But at least we can look back on it and laugh at it. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, we'll see you lot tomorrow. It's Long-Haired Jesse's Cave for mid-afternoon for the Premier League review / preview. And then match reaction following in the evening. Until then, take care. Goodbye. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Take care.